Hello and welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of the New Construction Marketing Podcast. I'm your host, Anya Chrysanthon, and today I have Jason Avery on the show. I had a pleasure of meeting Jason during SEBC conference in Orlando, and Jason is a general contractor and he owns his own business. And Jason happened to be one of the presenters at the conference. And I just loved his presentation, and I thought it applies so much to what we experience as new home sales reps. So Jason talked about customer experience, the ups and downs. So I'm very excited to have Jason on the show today.
Thank you, Anya. Glad to be here. So yeah, a lot of the content that we spoke about at the beginning of the conference came directly from my book. It's called Constructing Success: The Blueprints for a Referral-Based Business, and that is available on Amazon to anybody who wants to hear the whole story.
Oh, that's amazing! Congratulations! When did you publish the book? I didn't realize you have a book out.
Yeah, that was going on 3 years ago now, but we did get a #1 bestseller in the business management category.
Congratulations! That's huge.
Thank you. While it comes from the perspective of a contractor, it's not a book all about construction. It really is about anybody who's building a referral-based business and managing a relationship with a client over an extended period of time. So in our world, when we remodel, people are going to be tied to the hip with us for 3 to 4 months, and sometimes longer. But by the time you get through the design and the selection process, and then you get into the actual construction that's going to take place at their home. And in some cases, my clients are even living at the home while it's under construction, which makes it even that much more stressful. So,
yes.
In our industry, it can be challenging to, get through the life cycle of the project and end it on such a happy note that these clients are going to tell a good story about you to their friends and family, rather than a story of all the pain and heartache that they experienced along the way.
It's so true, Jason. And I think that relates so perfectly to the new construction business. Although we don't have clients living in the homes while they're being built, that could be a whole other show.
It's just one added challenge that I'm faced with. So with that, I've been forced to really start to understand the psyche of the customer and really put myself into their shoes and realize what kind of an experience they're having and what can I do to make that experience more comfortable along the way. And so in the book, we refer to it as the customer experience roller coaster. It's all those emotional highs and lows. So early in the process, every customer we meet's excited. They've got this inspiration that they're going to, redo a room, a kitchen or a bath, or build an entire new house. But then the reality of it starts to set in that the husband and wife don't always agree. They might have a different opinion on the strategy, the layout, the color, the placement, the budget, how much money should we spend? And there may be two different perspectives. They may be people of two different behavioral styles. And so there can just be some communication, challenges there. And so we really have to be able to speak multiple languages to these people and almost do a little bit of marriage counseling along the way if we're going to get them through that process to the point of contract.
Yes, I always say it's like I do real estate part-time and marriage counseling / psychology, whatever you want to call it, full-time, because it really is true. You get to know people on such a different level because you are spending so much time with them, right? It's not just a quick sale. You are with them day in, day out and going through all those multiple emotions. And people are telling you some of the most intimate things that they'll never share with probably even some of their closest friends, because, you're talking about budgets, how much money they're making. And it's definitely interesting when you get into those disagreements between husband and wife on, what is a must-have for one versus, a complete non-negotiable for the other. And so it's interesting to see that dynamic play out typically right in front of you. So it could be awkward at times. So how do you,
Definitely awkward.
do you have any pointers on, how to deal with those situations? Because obviously you don't want to overstep your boundaries, but you want to be a trusted guide.
Well, that's on the roller coaster ride. This is just the first big hill we've come to, and there's many more hills, down the track. But in this hump, we try and look at what the pain points are. What is it that maybe our competitors are doing that's upsetting people, and so let's avoid doing the same thing. And I hear a lot about, either a contractor comes in and just ballparks a price point and really doesn't support it with any information. I also hear a perspective where maybe they came in and didn't provide any information right away. They wanted to go get all their ducks in a row first, and it's now weeks or months down the road before they're giving any information so you can even decide if you want to work with this person. And then there's the scenario of the people who just simply don't follow up. I can't tell you how many projects I've won just by being the guy who called back or the guy that did what I said I would do. But part of the process that we follow to try and make things easier and more comfortable is with more of a outward to inward pricing model. And when we go out, we offer a same day estimate. The day I meet you at this property is the date that I'm going to give you the initial pricing. I'm just going to do it in ranges, in lows and highs, but I'm going to lay it out on a document that structures it into itemized categories. So I'm giving them bite-sized pieces of information that are easily understandable in layman's terms, so that we can start to shape their mind around all the moving parts that are going to make this come together. Because there's so many little things that don't make a big difference, but when you add up a whole bunch of those, it can be humongous. So we try and go from an outward to inward process. You've got all these options. Let's give you generalizations first, and let's give them to you today. And then every time we meet thereafter, we can start to narrow the conversation into something that's much more specific. But before I get too deep into it, I need to understand, what is the comfortable spending level? What is the expectation, the must-haves versus the, oh, we would really love to have that too, the embellishments. So, we got to try and ease them into that place that's going to, well balance the equation for everybody.
You're hitting on so many valid points here. So one is the transparency with pricing. So I think that also applies to new home sales, because obviously I think the biggest fear for a customer with building a home is that they think it's going to cost them an arm and a leg. And the problem is that it's not always transparent, because when you're walking into that model and you've seen this beautiful model, well, what's the starting price of this home? Well, it's this. But in order to recreate this model, it's more like another $200,000. And so it's hard to a lot of the times even visualize what the budget looks like and what the budget gets them. So I think over providing information as far as pricing and everything like that, that's something that we can do very well as sales reps. And I think a lot of builders usually hold that information near and dear to their hearts. And a lot of times they don't want to, give it out on the first visit. I'm quite the opposite with that. I say, you know what, give the information, make it transparent. When you're making it transparent to them, they're going to feel like they can trust you. And then you're also hitting a nail on the head with the follow-up. So you're not alone with that. I think biggest challenge for us as the sales reps is a lot of the times we'll see so many people through our model home, especially if it's the weekend. And it's like, okay, who do I follow up with first? And how do I have enough time to follow up with every single person? Because it's just one me. And I think that goes back to automating some of that follow-up. And I'm curious to know if you're doing any of automation at all in your business.
Yeah, absolutely. We've grown now to have 40 employees. There's 10 people on the administrative staff, including 4 people who do sales on a regular basis, 3 residential, 1 commercial. And so tracking all of these leads coming from a variety of sources can be a challenge. I'm not one to buy into too many softwares as I'm kind of an Excel junkie. And I took Excel as a course in college, and I've never let it go. It can manage everything in my business through a series of spreadsheets that I create. And then through a series of formulas I've created, We keep constant totals on close ratio per salesperson, close ratio per lead type, average sale per lead type. I can tell you with, exact accuracy that I received 36% of my transactions by referral so far in 2018, but in fact it generated 44% of my revenue because I get a $10,000 higher average sale on the referral versus the lead from the home show or the internet. So
and that's a very important, right? Because if you know that big profitable part of your business are referrals, obviously in this business, it becomes even more important to keep your customer happy throughout the process and to leave them on a positive note so that they can refer somebody else to you, right? So how can we balance those ups and downs, as you call it, the roller coaster? What are some of the recommendations that you've implemented in your own business to try to level that off?
Sure. So, well, we've gotten over the first big hump. What's the second one coming at us? Is after we've gotten them to that point of contract, that next big hill, they're excited again. We're contracted. Yay. It feels like we've made progress. But now is when that deep selection process comes into play. Mm-hmm. So we're going to send them out to pick out paint colors, tile types, flooring, and sinks, faucets, toilets, tubs, all these little miscellaneous details that they're a little uncomfortable with. They don't do this every day like we do. And so, the smallest minor decisions can sometimes start to add up and really weigh on them heavily and stress them out. And again, husbands and wives aren't going to agree on the selections. So we get back down to that low place again. Part of what I do to try and prevent that is I have, specific people waiting in specific places to receive them for the selections. And I'm going to send you here to this particular showroom. You're going to talk to this particular person and they'll be expecting you. Now, when that customer arrives, my referral partner on the other end is trained to start the conversation by saying, I hear you hired Avery Construction. Man, what a smart decision that was. They're really great. And just by giving that one statement of reassurance mm-hmm. is what it continues to build the confidence throughout the process. Not hearing it from me telling them how wonderful I am, but hearing it from others. And so again, and that's part of the strategy is to make sure that they're hearing it from a few different angles.
Mm-hmm. So it's like you're doing a couple of things here. You're doing a warm handover, right? It's kind of like, instead of just saying, oh, just go to the showroom and pick out your selections, you're introducing them to the person who's going to take them through the process, the person who is meeting them there, again, reinforcing what a great decision they've made. So that's definitely something that we as new sales reps can implement on our part. And that would be applicable not just to our design center, but also say your loan officer and all the other vendors that your customers can potentially meet with. Again, if they can reinforce what a great decision you're making and greet them in such a way that gets them excited, because it is a tedious process at times, for sure. So I love that.
So in my remodeling world, and we have another hump here that you might not deal with as often in the new construction, and that is demolition day. So we're excited that it's finally going to start, but that day that you come home from work and see the wires hanging out of your ceiling and the bare concrete floor and the dust covers covered in dust, and it's just an uneasy, uncomfortable feeling as if, what did I just get myself into? So, we are very particular about clean job sites and just the little details. You can sweep the floor, but if there's still crumbs underneath the edges of the baseboards where, the broom didn't get it, the visual on that, it still appears dirty. So take the vacuum out for a second and suck the stuff out of the edges, and appearance is everything. If it seems under control, if it seems over the top in cleanliness, then the comfort feeling that they have will be much easier. When they get that uneasiness, now they start to question more things.
I'll tell you what, we often take our customers through homes under construction, and it can be quite a scene. And you can
Yeah,
tell
how the job site looks. How the job site looks on that day of the walkthrough. Oh yeah, it could make or break, how the rest of this process is going to
Are there bottles with pee, lined up? And it's,
oh my goodness.
I see it. I mean, it's, and you're looking at it and you're like, this customer is probably thinking like, what the heck, or guys smoking inside, like, so
horrible.
you can definitely tell a great project manager from not so good project manager, because these types of things and what they allow crew to do, not to do, it's a big difference. And of course, the customer perceives the builder through that. So it completely relates to what you're talking about here.
So we go through a high, we go through a low. It started, and then, oh my goodness, it started. And so after we get a little progress going, we get some framing complete. We've got some drywall up. It's now taped, textured, and painted. When they see that color go on the walls, we're back to a high. That some pressure starts to be relieved. That, wow, it's starting to look like a room. I can really see, what it's going to be now, and that's exciting for them. Problem is we're not done yet, and it's going to be a long process to finish. And we still have to do the floors and the trim carpentry. We still got to put in cabinets. We got to put in countertops. Then we got to do all our electrical and plumbing trim out and get everything final inspected before we get that CO, before we can hand it over. And that process is just too long and too grueling. They had a higher anticipation level, a higher expectation just by seeing the paint. And now, they're going to be riding us till the end. When we get to the end, that can be a very uncomfortable period in our process. They find something that was wrong, or something that's not complete, or something breaks. Are you ever going to come back? Are they ever going to see you again? And again, this uneasiness starts to settle in, and we're coming down that big hill. And is that the place where we're going to leave them? That's the question. Is that going to be the final interaction we have when their hands shaking while it hands over the check? That's not a good story to tell, when they tell their friends and family, and it's like, oh gosh, I didn't think they were ever going to leave. I didn't think I was ever going to move in. I didn't think that, it was ever going to finish. And oh my gosh, it cost so much more than I ever wanted it to. Everything had to be upgraded. And if that's the story we leave them with, it's kind of a rough one. We probably aren't going to expect to get a whole lot of referrals. So in my business, our strategy is we actually have a 2-week cooling off period where we just let them settle back in, get their life back in order, put things away, hang the painting back up on the wall. And then we call them unexpectedly and just say, hey, we're going to be in the neighborhood tomorrow. Wanted to stop by and maybe get a couple of pictures for our photo albums. Now that you've got a chance to clean it up and decorate it. They always welcome us over. And when we come to the house, we come bearing an unexpected gift. And it's a classic gift. And so for our kitchen customers, we're giving them a set of custom steak knives that come in a fancy wood box. It's name brand. It's got a placard on the front of the box with their name engraved into it. So it's a functional gift that they'll actually use. They're going to take it out in front of their friends and family. It's going to be a conversation starter. But it's functional. It's pretty. Didn't cheap out on it. It's got my logo very subtly burned into the blade, and it's a surprise. So whatever behavioral style they are, from one angle or another, they appreciate it. The fact that it's got their name on the box makes it heartfelt and nurturing. So
I think that's such a great idea. Let me ask you this real quick. Jason, so you mentioned that you do a 2-week cool-off period, so you don't give them the present right away. Why is that? What's the strategy behind that?
Well, again, sometimes I think if we come in just a little too soon, it's almost like they weren't quite over the stress of it yet, and maybe I don't get as much bang for my buck. I don't think. I don't think that they receive it with as much excitement, as much appreciation, at that point in time, because they're just not quite ready for that yet. And their house is still, it's finished, but all their stuff is still packed in a closet somewhere. And so until the boxes are unpacked, and again the pictures are on the wall, and they've had a chance to dust everything, it's just not ready enough yet. So we give them a couple of weeks, we stop in, we bring them the gift, and then while we have them on that high, while they're saying, wow, that was nice of you, I appreciate that, then we compliment them for the outcome of the project. We say, you know what, it's these colors you picked, and it's this flooring you picked that made all this come together. And that picture on the walls you just hung up, wow, that really made this room pop. And so we give them credit for it instead of trying to keep that to ourselves, that they are the design genius that made such perfection.
Yeah.
Now we're programming them with the story to tell to their friends. You know, the story about the design and the story about why it looks so beautiful, and how nice the contractor was. They actually came back, I never thought I'd see him again. Look at this great gift they brought me. Wasn't that sweet of them? I just love those guys. So it's ending that process on that high note where we start to establish now, beyond a working relationship, now a bit of a friendship. And when I'm friends with somebody, they actually go out of their way to refer me business. And,
I love that. And I'm sure you're seeing such a difference from doing that final drop off of the gift versus, maybe before you implemented that in your business. And, that little gift doesn't cost you as much as the value of this customer being happy and as the value of that customer giving you a referral. So that's huge. So tell us a little bit more about, you mentioned the knives, and then during your presentation, you had mentioned something about the guests who are redoing their bathroom. I thought that was genius.
Yeah, so with the bathroom customers, we give them a very plush salon-style bathrobe. Like if you spend a day at the day spa, one of those nice, warm and cozy things, and it's got my logo braided in on one of the chests very subtly, and then it's got their name personalized on the other chest. So it's you get personalized, it's practical, it's again, not a cheap gift, it's a classy gift, so it's appreciated and thoughtful. And again, they wear their robe out one time in front of other people, and now again it's a conversation starter as well.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
we actually everybody in my administrative staff has actually done a lot of personal development training, and I actually teach some professional development training classes and networking related classes on the side. One in particular is by a company called Ascentive, and it's the Room Full of Referrals program, and that is based around the DISC assessment. DISC assessment's been around since the 1920s. It's all about behavioral styles of people. So some people behave a little, make their decisions a little faster. They walk fast, talk fast, think fast. They do the fast-paced decisions all the time. Other people are wired to take their time making decisions, and they want to analyze the data first. They want to do a little research. They want to compare their options before they make a slower pace, more comfortable. So what do? Do you run right up and dive right in the pool, or do you dip your toe in first to check the temperature and make sure it's not frozen over? Sometimes us fast-paced decision makers get ourselves in trouble and we're moving just a little too fast.
Yeah.
So we also can, see in people if they're the type of person who is people-driven. They wake up in the morning thinking about who I get to meet today, the places I get to go, the fun things I'm going to do, who we get to help out, versus others who are wired more towards the tasks of the day. I've got a list, and I'm going to check it off the list, and I'm going to be effective and efficient and a perfectionist. I'm going to get results and drive it to get it done. And so different styles of people, and whether you're faster or slower, whether you're people-oriented or task-oriented, can divide us into 4 different pools of people. In the program, we actually refer to those people as go-getters, promoters, nurturers, or examiners. And once you can start to identify, now you can start to learn how to adapt and become a little more relatable, which then ultimately makes you more referable. And really, this all ties back into the close of your clients too. We started this conversation, I mentioned about, husbands and wives and not agreeing. And again, sometimes it's communication breakdown between them. And that's 100% related to the difference in their behavioral styles. My wife and I are wired exactly the opposite. I am faster paced, people oriented most of the time. As soon as I go to work, I drive into task mode. She's the type that is slower paced, people oriented. put her into work and she's in the slower paced task mode and more analytical style, more data research style. I'm more, sales and marketing style. So, we each have our strengths. We have to understand the differences, but we also have to learn how to speak different languages so that when we're with that married couple, we can identify each of their styles and speak to each of them in a way that they're going to appreciate. And in the program, we refer to that as the platinum rule. And the golden rule was what we grew up to. You treat people the way you want to be treated. The platinum rule is now telling us, let's treat people the way that they want to be treated.
I love that. You got right? This is a tweetable quote right here. Say it again, Jason.
The platinum rule, treating people the way that they want to be treated. And again, this is there's a lot more content out there about that. And I would encourage everybody to look up a Dr. Tony Alessandra, who wrote a book called Platinum Rule. You can also find the course book for Roomful of Referrals online. Again, Roomful of Referrals, and that is multiple authors. Dawn Lyons was my mentor out of California. She's one of the authors of the book, along with Dr. Tony Alessandra and Dr. Ivan Meisner, who's the founder and chief visionary officer of BNI, the leading networking organization in the world. It's been called the father of modern networking.
Nice. I'm always looking for book referrals, so I love to read. So definitely going to be checking that out. Roomful of Referrals. That's something we can all learn more of in the new construction business, because obviously, let's face it, if we can get more customers through word of mouth and positive experiences, that makes all the difference in the world. So Jason, where can people connect with you to learn more about you and your company and to pick up a copy of your book?
Sure. So again, the book is available on Amazon. Just search for Constructing Success, the Blueprints for a Referral-Based Business. The best way to contact me, anything construction related, is jason@averyconstruction.com. That's my email. And of course, that is the website, averyconstruction.com, AVERY. If it's
and Jason, what part of Florida do you is your business in? So if somebody is looking for a contractor in Florida,
sure, anywhere in the greater Tampa Bay area, Pinellas County, Hillsborough County, Pasco County, Hernando County, anywhere in the greater Bay Area, we take on a variety of projects. We also give a lot of referrals to other contractors as well. I'm not one that views people as competition, more as ways, I look for ways we can collaborate and support each other. And I do that with other general contractors, as well as relationships with architects and interior designers on a daily basis. So if people would like more information about any of the upcoming classes that I'll be leading, Roomful of Referrals, or the Building Your Empire program, that's all about infrastructure and time management, people retention. And so that any of those programs you can access through my other company, Constructing Success. The website is construct-success.com. You can also follow a lot of what I'm doing on my media page there, or also see upcoming events on my calendar.
Great. And Jason, is there a place on social media where you spend most of your time, where we can catch you?
All of them. Where I spend most of my time is Facebook. You know what? For salespeople, Facebook is going to change our way of doing business completely. I, again, measure statistics very specifically, and my internet campaign, which always used to include just pay-per-click, we had a presence on all the social media, but it wasn't a marketing strategy. We were not getting business from it in the years prior. This year is completely different. I have a power team group of trades partners that I associate with. I go to breakfast with a couple times a week. We have identified several of the community pages, and we have liked these groups together, so that now we're there to refer and provide testimonial for each other. So anytime somebody on Home Harbor Happenings says, I'm looking to remodel, their friends are going to start chiming in, and several contractors are going to get 1 or 2 recommendations. I'm going to have 6 or 8 recommendations on that same post, tagged into all of them, by having the power of my referral partners behind me, sharing testimonials. So social media pages are where it's at right now. Again, there's so many of them: Palm Harbor Happenings, Trinity Chat, and Seminole Heights, Safety Harbor Happenings, Dunedin. The list goes on, and there's new ones being formed every day.
Great. Well, I'll make sure to include all of that information in the show notes as well, so people can reach out to you, and especially if somebody's looking for a contractor or wanting to attend one of your classes live, if they're in the area, I highly recommend it. You're great on stage, so energetic, and I've definitely enjoyed meeting you in person. And thank you so much, Jason, for making an appearance today. For my listeners, I really appreciate your time. I think the information is very relatable, because at the end of the day, we are all going through the same type of roller coaster in our industry. So I wish you best of luck. Sounds like you've already got quite an empire growing, and I'm sure you're gonna just continue to take over the world and kick butt as you go along.
Thank you, Anya, so much for having me. I really appreciate it. Hey, I love to share. I love to try and help others. And all I ask is if anything's stuck today, if you go implement any one strategy and you find some great success from it, please reach out to me and share your success story. I love to hear the feedback. I want to change the world.
For sure. Well, Jason, thank you so much. And I'm sure I'll be talking to you in the near future again. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.